So yeah, let's review the episode. My Academia episode 93, or episode 5, season 5, right? Tokoyama's episode and Bird Bros. Yeah, so Hawk was funny as always, being the whole like, oh, come on, bro, you're gonna fly, right? Definitely, he's kind of generically a funny guy. Oh, I hired you with my intern because we bought birds. What else? 20% birds, like that. That's the reason, man. Birds of the feathers of the same bird, man. But the feather powers and so on. We gotta team up, right? That's kind of funny. If it's a little weird that he's all like, I want to learn about your school and your defense systems, given that he might be evil. I don't think Hawk is evil. We haven't really finished that storyline, right? But I think this is an episode that's gonna be like a red herring where you're wondering is like, is he evil or not, right? Because he's like, oh, explain to me how this thing works at the school and so on, right? So that might be a bad thing if it's evil, right? If he assumes he actually joined the League of Villains, of course he wants to, figure out some stuff about the school and all the stuff, right? And that might be why he's doing this stuff. But I think it feels unlikely that actually it's a bad guy. I think he's pretending to be a bad guy, right? He's infiltrating them. I mean, yeah, I know we saw that the state people told him to do that, but I still feel like a little bit like, because it's kind of like a triple agent thing. You're evil, then you pretend to be evil, and the good guys ask you to be evil, and maybe. I mean, I'm just saying it here, yeah, like because this in here, this intern, this should be before he was. The thing is that this should be before he was asked by the government, right, to pretend to be evil. I think so, at least, because it's like a flashback when he was interned him. It should be like a half year before something like that. I don't know exactly the timeline here. This isn't really explained right, but I think this should be before the hero government asked him to pretend to be evil. So it's a little bit like, why is he having all these evil questions? Oh, can you explain to me this thing? It's a little bit fishy, but I think it's just part of his ruse, right? Or maybe this is after he was asked, but I don't think it is. I think it's actually before. But anyway, yeah, like why aren't you flying, right? Why aren't you flying? Otherwise, though, I don't think his power up was really. I mean, he can fly now. It's a bird that can fly. Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, birds should fly, right? Makes sense. But a little bit, just as Deku said though, even though I found Deku comedically a good prick there, but but it's like, like Deku said though, it is kind of obvious. He's just lifting his body with the powers. Like, it's not just fly by, doing this thing. When you think about it, it's kind of obvious. Like Deku said that, sounded like a douche when he said that, but it is true though. He using this power in a way that he can lift himself, because the Shadow can fly, yeah. And it also increases mobility, because he's not stuck with his navel, because they're both moving at the same time together. It's actually quite like the most obvious power up for him, right? Yeah, let's just like fuse together, me and the bird, basically. Because, I mean, otherwise, his Shadow House bird thing, yeah, it's stuck to his body. He can, of course, move away from his body, but only to some extent, right? So actually being together like this makes, kind of cloaking himself upright in that sense, and flying then or whatever different ways. Yeah, it is quite obvious that Deku said like, why you do that earlier? Why do you learn to fly now? But I guess the point is that he never really, I guess, envisioned himself flying. His Hawks is like, why aren't you flying for? Why are you not flying? Why can't you see the potential of flying and so on? You gotta think, you're a bird, you gotta get in the sky, man. So I guess it's more like Hawk said, you're lacking potential. You're not using your power, so you're fully potential, because you should obviously get higher up right in the sky and so on. So yeah, like Hawk is like, yeah, you should do it. So more like I don't know, a realization of his mental powers. More like a mental thing, right? More than an actual power thing. So not like a. I mean, it clearly becomes like a. How say it? Quite a much better power up, because he can fly, right? Anyone that can suddenly fly is pretty good, so that way it becomes a high level power up. But otherwise, he really didn't get stronger, right? Like, he didn't get much stronger. He just utilized his powers in a better way. So he's like a mental, yeah. He's got, I can fly, yeah. It's like, oh yeah, I see now, I can fly. This was really good. Yeah, this looked fantastic, really. Probably better than the last episode, when they were kind of like circling around the pipes, right? We see him like pulling naval extra around in the pipes, and we see them doing this like disco ball attack on him, they're lighting it up, and he's twisting around, and so yeah, this looks really good. The last 3 or 4 minutes or so were really well animated. They look fantastic. Just like last week when they had kind of the end with Shinjo fighting, was really good, and Suga and kick in and so on. Battle really amazing. This here I think was even better. So it was really slick animation, really cool. It's clearly like CDI though, and the pipes of 3D, right? But it did really good. And it reminded me of something Mappa would do, right? Kind of giving that, how to say it. Mappa loves to do it like circling when they're running, right? So you kind of get that feeling that's very quickly, it's very highly paced because the fight's like shoof shoof 3D view kind of thing, right? It makes the fight feel very fast, very ADI, so to speak. And so they really accomplished that. Yeah, it was really good. But yeah, think about it. It reminds me of how Mappa does it, right? How Mappa does like in Jujutsu Kaisen, where they kind of spin around the camera and so on. It really reminds me of that because that gives you that feeling that it's like, wow, this is going so fast. So it was really nice. It was really nice, and probably the best part of the episode, I think, because I think it's probably the best animation part so far in this season. Last episode had when he ran through the pipes against Hinsho and a kick, which also looked really good too. But otherwise, the episode has been that good animated. But yeah, this was like definitely a standout part, right? That was some of the bad stuff now, though. It is definitely the perfect example of this thing. I was like, man, this episode, though, guys, it feels half filler, right? It feels super slow paced. So given next episode is clearly Momo is gonna fight, Kendo, and they're gonna have this like, best, I don't know, idol girl fighting martial art, my powers, something going on, right? This episode should have probably been Bird Boys, right? Bird Boys, and then Kendo versus Momo versus Kendo. That should probably be this episode. Like, because half this episode, let's be honest here, right, is just like flashback filler. Like, it's not, like, yeah, I'm disappointed. I mean, they do it again. This whole arc feels like the anime is trying to really slow pace it. It's starting to feel like a One Piece episode, right? And actually, I mean, One Piece is better than that Wano, but some parts of the One Piece Wanos have been, this is starting to feel like an anime now where you're like, okay, this is supposed to be, I don't know, they do like one chapter. I haven't read the manga, right? But I guess it's like one chapter per episode kind of thing. And that's really slow. And it's too slow for an anime that is not ongoing every week, right? Like Black Clover used to do. But up to this point, right, a few years ago, One Piece and so on, right? Would actually just keep doing episodes, every week. Then you have to be, eventually, when you get closer to the manga, you're like, well, we gotta slow down the pace, right? But here in My Academia, episode 1, of course, being a filler episode, 100% filler, right? And then all episode 2 earlier, also being a little bit like recap and filler. This episode here, the first half is pretty pointless. Like, I mean, the episode is pretty good because I liked it, what we saw. Yeah, like, that's the thing, right? What we got the last 10 minutes, especially the last 5 or so minutes, that's good. But what we got before that is like, oh, here's Deku, and, here's the Eri, here's the girl again, okay, that's sad, and here's some other flashback when Deku's fighting, and here's some flashback when they're in the forest, and here's a Kendo flashback, and here's another flashback of this character, and the way they do it, right, it's not like a prolonged flashback, but it's like, here's 10 seconds of that, here's half a minute of that, here's 3 seconds of that, and then we do see them all talking. Generally, right, these kind of scenes as well, where they just kind of like, oh, here's the classmates, and they stand here and they're talking, and this guy's super annoying, and he's gonna be with Shinjo, so that makes more sense to have extra show, right? But you also see Deku talking, right? You see a lot of assets, though, on Alien, though. You see a lot of her assets, which is good, though. It's just, they really develop her asset scene. But otherwise, I mean, yeah, you see all the students talking, sitting down, giving some pep to each other. Bakugo is like, I don't teamwork! Screw you guys, I'm the leader! That's kind of funny. I mean, there's some jokes there, but this really feels like a filler thing, right? Because, yeah, Bakugo, that's fun a little bit. This is fun a little bit, right? But generally, the first 10 minutes is like the students having like a group chat that has no actual meaning, because this isn't actually like, this is our strategy. They don't explain the strategy, right? I mean, you see, yeah, it's just some jokes on fan service, and it's okay, but it's not that super funny either. This is somewhat funny, but it's more like haha funny, more than, Nagatori, crying out of laughter funny, right? So, I mean, I'm laughing at it, smirking at it, probably more. And then generally, and then mixing these things with them, yeah, hanging out, not really saying anything, not really being that funny, just kind of funny, and then you have, flashbacks in between them. So the first 10 minutes, in my opinion, is basically filler. Like, I mean, I read the manga, but I assume the manga probably has 1 or 2 pages, right, of this. Yeah, this is probably like a manga panel, right? So certainly this is in the manga, but in the manga you're like, look at that, bam, bam, and then you get to the next page, right? You get to the fight. So in this episode, again, yeah, it probably should have been, they could have wrapped this thing up in at least twice the speed, or like half the time, whatever, right? But probably much faster than that. And you probably could have animated both, birds should fly, and the Momo Kento stuff. That's probably one episode I mentioned earlier. So, I don't know. This season so far, it's... unfortunately, I feel they're going into that. I mean, it's a shonen anime, but yeah, if it's a little bit, they're going into like a weekly shonen anime, right? And as I mentioned again, when I say weekly, I'm thinking about like One Piece, right? That keeps going weekly for years without any break. So they need to be super slow paced. Or take a break, right? Or do a whole filler arc. That's usually what you do, right? In shonen anime, to keep going Bleach and so on, Naruto. You take a 10 weeks filler arc, right? To kind of get the manga, get some timing. In One Piece, they kind of stop doing that and they're just doing like super slow pace, right? Instead. But they used to do it in One Piece more too. Yeah, they used to have like 20 like Navarro is like 10 episode filler arc or so on. They used to have longer filler arcs, which I prefer definitely in One Piece. I prefer if they did like much longer filler arcs if they're gonna go weekly, right? But of course, Macadamia can't really defend that saying, "Oh, we're a shonen anime," because they're doing shonen anime, but they're doing shonen anime seasonal shonen anime, right? So they're like, we're supposed to be, you're supposed to be not caring about pacing it out slowly, right? Because it really feels like they're trying to just make it as slow as possible, compared to the manga. They're like, I'm guessing it's like one chapter. I guess it's one chapter per episode. And that feels really slow for a seasonal anime. But again, I mean, I'm repetitive, but I really did think the first 10 minutes here, they kind of come off as filler, yeah, more or less. I mean, not filler, but more like super slow paced 10 chapter of the manga. It's like, it's a joke for like 10 minutes. Yeah, it's like the same joke for something like that, right? Which is a little bit like disconcerting. But anyway, that's Macadamia, guys. Take a break here, and then we're gonna play more, of course, Nier Replicant. The game finally yesterday, right? We're gonna play more Nier. I'm a big fan of Nier, of course. Got my wife there, and there's all right. But yeah, play the Nier, and then of course later tonight is Saturday, so we have all these animes, right? We have Nagatoro, Vivi, and so on, right? Tokyo Revengers, and eventually of course One Piece far in the end today. But yeah, Saturday is the most animes, right? So subscribe, please, want to see. Have